You were tied 8th here back in 2016, so it's obviously a course that suits you. What do you make of what you've seen so far this week?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great golf course. We played here in 16. It played a lot different in 16. It was a lot firmer, and this year it's obviously gotten a lot more rain, especially with last night, so it's a lot softer and greener, and they've moved a few tee boxes back, so a little bit more added yardage on this golf course, which is good. So it's just playing a lot longer, but it's probably in the best shape I've seen.
Wow. And back-to-back majors, how does that affect your preparation for this week?
Yeah, well, this is my 4th week in a row, so it's been a lot of golf for me this year. Just in general, there's a lot more tournaments that were in a row that I wanted to play in, so yeah, like I said, it's just one of those years that I'm just playing a lot more, but at the same time, I'm making sure to take that downtime when I do go home and not grind away on practice sessions. So getting ready for these past 2 weeks, I played in Toledo, and then played in Midland for that team event. So it just took them easy, didn't really grind away in practice rounds, and just to get ready for these 2 weeks, especially like tune-up events. So it was great to, have these last two as the last two of the 4-week stretch.
Cool. Right, we'll take some questions. Who's going to start us off? Yeah, Bethan.
A lot of off-course distractions. Can you take us through the realization that you didn't have your passport with you, and then just the events that followed?
Yeah, I realized it late Sunday night that my passport was in my golf bag that was in the van that was coming over with all the luggage, and I was freaking out. Honestly, I was like, I'm going to be stranded here. And then going to another major championship, I'm like, I need to figure this situation out. And, I didn't realize that I was going to cause so much delay in the bags for all the players. And I'm very sorry about that. But in my situation, I was freaking out. And then he happened to be somewhat close to where my caddy Benji was. So my first reaction was to, hopefully stop him and get my passport so I can leave and get to the Women's British Open. So I do apologize. I mean, I would be upset too if I was the other players, but I ended up getting it, and I can't apologize enough.
What's it been like out here in terms of trying to focus? And I'm sure you've been apologizing to a lot of players along the way. Just how have you been able to put that aside? Nobody's really come up to me directly. I mean, I can kind of feel it, but unfortunately it happened. I didn't mean anything by it. I am very sorry to all the players and caddies, whoever put their luggage on it. But I'm just trying to focus on this week and play good golf, and just focus on enjoying this experience and being at a major.
Evian? At the back there. Guys, can you just grab the mic and send it back to Evian? Thank you.
Hi, Lexi. Let's say you had, that it was just happening in the future. What would you do differently if you had the chance to go through the whole thing again? What would you have done about the passport if you'd had time to, you weren't freaking out, as you said, and you'd had time to think it through?
I would have remembered my passport to put in my backpack. I would have done that.
You won't do it again, probably.
No.
And
no, I would definitely never do that again.
Okay, yeah. And following on from there, let's say you've still forgotten the passport. Is there anything you feel you could have done differently after that?
Well, I mean, honestly, in the situation I was put in, I didn't realize, he didn't tell us that that you could possibly miss a ferry or anything like that. So I didn't know the possibility of it being that much delayed, or I probably wouldn't have done it. But I think if any other player was in the situation and the reaction time that we had, and that he was close to my caddy, I think any player probably would have done it. But like I said, I'm sorry that this had happened, but that's all I could say.
Yeah.
Thanks, Sarah. One more passport question, and then we'll actually talk about golf, Lexi. You said you can pick up on, is there a tension from the players whose bags were late, or do you think we will get to a stage where people can see the funny side? Can anybody see the funny side of it yet?
I don't really know. I haven't talked to many players about it. They haven't come up to me. I can kind of feel it, but I didn't mean anything by it. I think everybody that knows me as a person, I didn't know that was going to happen. I didn't mean anything by it. So, but it happened, and I'm very sorry. So,
as promised, a golf question then. The course, as you said, is very different from 3 years ago. Yeah. A couple of players I was talking to yesterday saying it was just too long. You know, a lot of the par fours, they're left with fairway woods or hybrids into the greens. But for the players that carry it longer, like yourself, you must be licking your lips this week.
Well, I played a full 18 yesterday, and it is playing a lot longer. Like I said, in 2016, it was very firm and bouncing out a lot, so there was a lot more shorter clubs, and the fairway and the par fives were a lot more reachable. Yesterday, the par fives weren't very reachable. I got close to maybe 2 of them, but yeah, I mean, I like the length of the golf course. But I'm sure that they'll move a few tees up depending on wind and wind direction and how it's playing. So I think it'll just be a good test no matter where they put the tees.
Lexi, it's challenging, obviously, to live your life in the public eye, but you've spoken about how you've met some other challenges. How, how have the lessons you've learned in the past, help you with a challenge like this?
Well, yeah, I mean, this whole career has put me in a lot of situations that I never would have expected, but I've learned so much about myself and just how strong I am as a person, and realize, who my true friends are, who's really there for me, and what makes me get through those situations. And I always say just a positive outlook helps getting through the tough situations, and just never giving up. Growing up with a family and circle that I have around me, they've taught me just to be a strong person in general. And I'm learning every single day. There's always a learning experience. So I've learned a lot through what I've been through, and I guess continue.
Yeah, Louise?
Lexi, do you think most golfers realise the full extent of what's involved in playing professionally? I mean, it's so much more than just playing golf, isn't it? Do you think that a lot of them go into it without realising what they're letting themselves in for?
I'm sorry, who?
Just like girls and young girls in general. They think, it's just all about playing golf, but it isn't, is it?
No, I mean, there's a lot that goes into it. I think a lot of people in general don't realize what goes into being a professional athlete, let alone a professional golfer. Everybody just thinks, you just go out and play a round of golf and it's done. But there's so much more that goes into it. I mean, we're on the golf course, let alone our round 5 hours, but then a 2-hour warm-up, and then if we practice after. And then, I'm in the gym an hour or so after or before my rounds. So there's a lot more that goes into it, a lot more obligations if you have sponsors and press conferences, media days. So there's a lot that just goes with a professional athlete that I don't think a lot of people realize. But it takes a lot of hard work and sacrifices, but, if it's your dream, you have to go for it. I think it would help just to have them be more prepared for what being a professional is like. The hours that you have to put in and what goes with being a professional athlete with the sponsors and everything. So I think it would help an up-and-coming person that wants to turn professional.
Lexi, could you just evaluate your year overall, where you feel like you've made progress and where the things you're still working on?
Yeah, I had kind of a slow start to this year. In my first few events, I didn't play that great of golf, but then I had a few weeks off, and I really I worked on my game. I had a few lessons with Kevin Kirk, and worked on my golf swing, just trying to get more consistent with my ball striking, and it kind of really all came together. And then with obviously changing to the claw grip at the Open, so that's kind of brought my whole game together. But I've just been trying to be more consistent. Like I said, the first few events I was just a little bit all over the place on the tee shots and just not hitting my irons as solid as I wanted to. But I put in a lot of hours on the range and just working on my game. And then I think really off the golf course mentally has helped me out a lot. Just making sure I take that downtime and have fun and just be more relaxed, so that way I'm ready to come out here and grind on the tournaments.
Lexi, you don't miss very many cuts, and with there being back-to-back majors, there's not a lot of time to put the disappointment of a missed cut behind you. I know you've been grinding. What have you sort of come up with going into this week that you've learned from the Evian?
Yeah, well, I had obviously Saturday and Sunday to go out there and practice, so I tried to squeeze in some practice sessions before the rain. And yeah, I mean, I feel great about my game. It's in a good spot, but I mean, you know, we're human. We're going to miss cuts, and we can't play perfect every day. And you know, sometimes it's just not your week. So I really like this golf course a lot. I played yesterday, and I feel good about where my game's at. So one more round in the Pro-Am today, and hopefully get some good weather. And looking forward to just the tournament.
And then if I could just go back to Evian for a second, what would you like to see change about that golf course to make it more major-like? I mean, what improvements would you suggest? And have you talked to anyone, you know, involved with the tournament about that?
You know, honestly, I've played in that tournament since I was 14 years old. So, you know, it is a great place. It's just a golf course sometimes is just, you know, the bounces that you get, you just kind of shake your head at when, you know, it's going right at the pin and you're a few feet away and then it ends up 50, 60 feet away. So, I mean, maybe just like a few slopes in the greens or leveling out some things, but, you know, it's not my choice to make. It's tournament director or whoever is in charge, Frank, and I haven't spoken to anybody about it. You know, it's their choice. They're going to do what they want.
Do you feel as the top American, though, that you do have a voice you have a platform to be able to say what you think should change?
I mean, I kind of do, but I feel like everybody has the right to speak their opinion. You know, that's how I was brought up, and I think nobody should be afraid to express their opinion. It's not like there's anything against it.
Just in the middle there, yeah.
Hi, Lexi. As the Tokyo Olympic coming up in less than a year now, how's your thoughts on playing in the Olympics again?
In the Olympics? Yeah, honestly, that's my #1 goal. I always say anytime I can represent my country, it's the highest honor to be able to wake up, put your country's colors on, and go out and represent. There's nothing like it. And with the Olympics being in Tokyo, I think it'll be great for golf in general, but for the women's golf especially. So it is my #1 goal to be on the Olympics team. It was a huge honor for me to be in Rio. I didn't play so great, but just being there surrounded by the best athletes of the world, it was like a dream come true. So I'm going to work my butt off to be on that team, hopefully in Tokyo.
Evian?
Lexi, are you at all like our Charlie Hull in having a few friends who know absolutely nothing about golf so that you can get right away from it?
Yeah, I do. I have a few friends at home that know nothing about golf. They're into other sports, but you know, I try to talk about golf and they're like, and they have no idea, which is so nice. It's refreshing. So I can just hang out with them and just be a normal 24-year-old and just hang out and not have to, you know, worry about anything. So it's very nice to have. It's nice to have that balance between golf and just the real life.
You touched upon health and well-being and going to the gym. How important is that as a professional athlete?
It's very important to me. I got into fitness probably when I was 15, 16 years old. I didn't really know what I was doing in the gym. I just went in there and floundered. And then I got into having a trainer around that age, and I started seeing a lot of differences, not only in my body, but in my golf swing. I started gaining distance, a little bit more consistency with my game, and just feeling better on the golf course. I was able to get through the long days that we had out there a lot easier. And I was like, all right, I kind of need to do this a lot more. And then it became an addiction for me. I love going to the gym, just putting my headphones on and just, you know, being in my own little world, but at the same time improving on myself.
Great. Any more? Good, we'll leave it there. Thanks, Lexi.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.